Okay, guys, welcome to the night stream. You are almost welcome. Almost welcome? All. As in all. You're all. Right, anyway, that was a weird one. But here we go. What we're doing tonight is basically finishing off our minimap movement when basically the player finishes the level. Okay? Now, normally this is going to be triggered by picking up the last pickup, right? So once that equals the total number of pickups on the level, then basically we are going to spawn a portal, and that portal is going to be where the player exits. Okay, so we need a way for the player to see that, or where it is, or general direction. Okay, so earlier on we created our portal, then we added 2 bits of code to our pawn, which basically move our minimap camera, which is a screen capture 2D, and we move it to the position on the map of the portal. Okay, and then we wait for 3 seconds and then we move it back to the player. So in effect it gives us this effect. Okay, so we pick up the minimap and we've got a button here that's basically going to simulate the fact that we've finished the level, so keep an eye on the minimap. Okay, so then it should move back, and there we go. If we do it again, it just basically jumps to the minimap. Okay, but obviously that's not going to happen again because it's only going to happen once, right? So to stop this actually doing this more than once, what we'll actually do, this is the code that basically moves the minimap, and that's okay, right? We don't actually need to do anything there, but that all works rather nicely. Which reminds me, Mr. Spock, what part of the ATM thing don't you think you can do? Right, so as well as that, we've also been playing about with writing on the walls. Okay, so I'm not particularly happy at the moment with that font, because why would you type on a wall, right? And what this has also done, and there's one more thing that I want to check, and that is if I move the camera and that still works perfectly well, right? I was kind of wondering if that would actually work or not, right? But it still works perfectly. Okay, so basically the game works, the portal works, everything works. Right, now if we make it to the portal, right, which wasn't that way, but it was over this way, I believe. right? Now I won't be able to find the portal because I'm an idiot, right? But being an idiot aside, I believe it should be up round this corner here. Right, so obviously we are terrible at looking for portals. But I believe it's up here somewhere. But this kind of gives me the right... Okay. What I was also considering doing here was, like... I ain't doing cryptocurrency, it's just a scam. I kind of don't... What's the part that you don't get what you would do? Well, so the okay, so your misunderstanding, or your problem with it is cryptocurrency. It's not something that I've ever delved into. Well, that is something I'm interested in, but not for the reason, well, it was basically for my other game, right, for Fabrica Espace. Right, I'm doing all this just to get to the end here, right, but I think right, it doesn't matter if I actually pick any of these up or not. I'm just trying to get to the end, which I think might be up here. That's it there. Right, so this is our end thing, right? So if I go there, there we go. Okay. Okay, so here's the way I would do it. And I've thought about this because if you remember in Fabrica Espace, you actually trade with the trading ship, okay? Now, the thing is here, it's basically, you would supply and demand, right? As the player fills up the trading ship, then basically you're filling the demand of, like, let's say, off-world planets, right? That don't exist, but basically that's the sort of English interpretation of how you would do it, right? The off-world planets represent the demand. And also a supply, right? So basically, the more you sell, or the more you supply, then the demand goes down. And the price goes down. And vice versa. Right? So basically the way I was looking at it, I was going to do some further investigation on it. Right? And I know there's an interesting one about The Witcher, how they came up with how to do the market in The Witcher, right? But fundamentally, the more you supply to a market, the demand goes down along with the price, okay? So, for example, if I made millions of steel, right, and sold 500,000 steel at $2 a ton, right, then obviously, if that's the market price at the time, it's going to be $2, right? But if you supply too much steel, then point one would be the fact that you can look at it just like the oil situation right now, okay? Where Russia are going to try and get everybody to buy oil. So Russia's selling oil, everybody's buying oil, but their demand is going to drop, right? When certain countries stop buying oil, right? Now, they're going to have to sell it somewhere else, right? But if you're trying to sell it to somewhere that's already got enough oil, right, number one, they ain't going to buy it at full price, right? Because they don't need any more than you're already selling them, right? And if they do, they would buy it at a reduced cost. So say you've got your steel and it's at $2, then they might say, right, okay, we'll take some more steel off you, but we're only going to pay you $1. Okay? Because they don't need it. At which point, they're basically stockpiling it, right? And at a particular point in time, that stockpile will be full. In which case, the demand will drop again. At which point, that particular, entity won't buy anymore because they've nowhere to put it. Right? So, first of all, the price will drop, and if they're basically taking more supply than there is demand in that location, then they're going to fill up stockpiles and eventually be full. At which point, the demand will be zero, and therefore you won't be able to sell them anything, even at a reduced price, because they've just nowhere to put it. Okay? Well, it's not that hard. You've just got you've got a demand, right, which is usage, right? So if I use 100 units every minute, then that's the demand at the normal price, okay? Then you have a stockpile amount, right? So maybe my demand is 100, and then I've got a maximum stockpile of 1,000, right? And if it ever reaches that stockpile maximum, right, then you just basically shut off demand, right? Now, when the demand is full, or let's say you get to, let's say 400 in the stockpile, that's when you drop the price, right? You're not willing to take any more. You're willing to take more, let's say 500, right? Because it makes it easier, right? So let's say once your stockpile is half full, then at that point you trigger the price change, right? And say, right, we're not going to buy this. We're only going to buy it at $1, right? And they will continue to buy it at that dollar until their stockpile is full, has reached 1,000, okay? Now, what you might do, just to create a little bit of overspill, is you might say, okay, my maximum stockpile is 1,000, right? But I'm going to buy it until I've got 1,200, right? So that you'll continue to buy a little bit more at the reduced price until your stockpile hits 1,000 or hits 1,200, and then you completely stop buying it, right? So you have a trigger at 1,000, your stockpile can hold 1,200, right? Now, once you hit 1,200, you basically set another float to say, we're not buying, okay? Now remember, in 2 turns time, we're going to have used 200, because remember we said that we're going to use 100 per turn, or per hour, or whatever it is, per day, whatever the time frame is. And so, you've stopped buying, then it's going to come down to 1,100, then the next turn it's going to go down to 1,000, right? And then you can set another trigger to say buy it, start buying at reduced price again when you reach below your stockpile, okay? So basically what you're trying to do there is you're trying to remove, basically you're trying to remove money from the game, okay? Because the player is basically generating resources, okay? So they're generating steel, they're generating oil, they're generating whatever, right? And you need a way to remove that from the game naturally, right? So if you make up this fictitious trading ship that trades with off-world countries or planets, then basically you're setting that system up. And those fictional planets are going to have demand that are going to remove resources from you. Right? Now, the trick is that in Fabrica Space was that you needed a particular thing that you can't make. Give me a second, I'm going to have to turn off the mic for 2 seconds because the dog's going to go mad. Okay, so my idea in Fabrica Space was that you can buy workers, right? And the workers would cost an exorbitant amount. Right? And if you fed the workers, or sorry, let's say you're getting $2 for your steel, right? But a worker costs 14,000 gold or dollars, right? Then that is the way to remove the player's wealth out of the game. Right? Now they are getting something back for it because they get increased production, but it's never going to make up for the fact that it's costing you this much steel right, to make a worker. Right? So what I would do is that would be my base thinking, and that's actually in Fabrica's space, by the way. I actually did that, right? But I would also do a bit of investigation and possibly even talk to economists to get a better insight on the simplest terms of how the most basic economy works. Right? So that's basically how I'd go about that issue. Right? Now, we do have to fix a couple, well, actually, basically one or two things here. It's actually two things, and that is that there's a door there and there's a T-junction here that are open, which I have missed, and I therefore need to join them back up in some way. I don't understand what the part is that you don't understand or you're confused about, right? If you're just pulling stuff out of an ATM, then the only thing that is in the slightest bit sort of interesting would be like hitting the buttons. Right? Now, if you're hitting the buttons, then each button, it's all going to be on a widget, right? So each button that you hit, you're going to assign it a number, right? So that when they hit a number, it'll go 1, then 3, then 5, right? And then all you'll do is concatenate them, right? To give you 1, 3, 5. And then you'll basically change it to an integer. String to integer. And then you've got your 1, 3, 5. Right? And then you go to your player, and hopefully you've got your player wallet, let's say. Your player wallet has a number on it. Right? So in this case you'd have two, right? You'd have the bank wallet and you'd have the player wallet, right? So in the bank wallet, let's say is 500. So when they hit transfer, you would basically say, right, bank wallet equals bank wallet minus 135, and player wallet equals player wallet plus 135, right? And that'd be you. Right, so all you do is create a variable called PIN number with 4 digits on it, right? And then when they basically type in the PIN number and hit enter, you just do the exact same thing. You concatenate the string together, right? So each time they hit a button, you just say string equals string plus the button number that they pressed, right? And do that until they hit enter. And then once they hit enter, just check that against their pin. And if it's equal to it, then it's right. Yeah? So that's the logic to it. Well, certainly that's the logic I would use. As I try to explain to people quite a lot, you've just got to make the coffee, right? You've got to take it step by step, each of the different operations that you need for the thing you want to do to function. And it's pretty much that's the way I go about it. I don't have, like, on the fly, what I'm telling you is exactly how I would do it. Well, that's simple. All you do is set up a timer, right? Set it an hour, set it as an hour, right? And then set timer by function name, type in add interest. And then bank money equals bank money plus bank money times interest. Right? And that's it. As I said, just try and solve the problem through simple steps. If I was to do it in a game, right, the first thing I would do, right, would be to create the keypad. Create a widget with a grid, create your keypad, right? Then get that part working, right? Get it working so that when you type in a number and press go, it does something. You're getting the correct outputs, right? For example, your PIN number or value or whatever it is you're doing, right? Get those numbers, get your inputs and outputs correct for what you want to do, and then just gradually build it up, right? As I said, you don't need to start with the end goal. You start with the first step to getting you to the end goal. Okay? And as I said, you just build it up, build the code up gradually, piece by piece. Until it does exactly what you want. So, as I said, if you want to start on a little project like that, then just get a player controller, add the two wallets or the two accounts, and say, you know, personal and bank, right? Then create your keypad and just get them to get the numbers and then transfer money from one to the other, right? That would be the way that I would actually build that up. Right, you could also do it as part of a structure. The player could have a structure called bank details, right? And in your structure you could have the PIN number, the bank amount, your pocket amount, and anything else that relates to your finances, right? So you could have it all in a struct. I think that's the way we want it. check that in a second. That's not the way we want it, but we'll move it to the way we want it in a minute. It's going to be that way. I think with that particular project, I think the most time that I would spend would be to make the interface look good. I would probably end up spending more time on that than actually coding it, because to be quite honest, it ain't that hard. That ain't a very hard thing to do. Well, it ain't a very hard thing to do regarding the bank detail stuff. As I said, it's fairly straightforward logic. Right, so that's me finished that off. Right, so hopefully we've not got any more of that. And we know that all this is working, which is great. So we're going to do a save all. Oh yeah, while we're at it, I set up the target points, right? Target points, if you've never used them, it's just like it's like a scene component, right? Where you can just use it as a location, right? So what I did was, I'll let you see, right? The best way to do it is to let you see. I'll put a couple of these in the map somewhere, right? Now our other target point is up here. The first target point is up here, okay? And I'll show you how this is going to work. Basically, there's going to be an exit point, okay? And the exit point is going to be a random exit point, and it's going to be selected from all of the target points that I put in the level, right? This is a fairly straightforward way of doing it, basically. Now, we can give these tags, right? So what we could do is, if we were using target points for anything else, right, we could actually tag them, and then tag them as portals. And then we could basically do a bit of code that checks for a portal tag, right? So the point of this, what I'm going to show you here, is that we're going to select a random portal, right? So when the minimap moves, it's going to move to a random target point, right? Which basically, I have to test this anyway, but I'm 100% sure it's going to work. But we do need to test it. Okay. So basically it's in here. Okay, and I'm just going to check to make sure that we actually do get a random point. So this is our start point. So the minimap will either move to here or over here somewhere. I think it's this corner here. Or it's going to move to up here. Now I can put as many of these as I want in the actual level and it should still work. But as we check on things to find out what's working and what's not within the actual level itself, we're hoping to get some feedback at some point. Right, so basically that's what we're doing. We're getting a random point when we press O, and we're spawning our portal, right? And when we spawn our portal, it basically moves the minimap to the portal. And so that's all fantastically great. So we shall save that. And now when we do this, we should see our minimap moving to different positions. Right? So if I press O, you'll see it moves down the way. Okay? And if we press play again, might pick the same one again, there's only 3. Right, but we'll find out. Yeah, pick the same one again. Right, but that's fine. That is normal behaviour. I do start getting worried if it picks the same one again. It is still possible though. And there it's up there. Okay. So you can see there, it's basically selecting a random portal point. And it selected that one again, which is fine. We just wanted to select that last one. And we'll be happy. Should move to the right. Yep, there we go. Okay. And there we go. That works a treat. Now, I was thinking about putting like a ping on it. A ping on the portal, which means that if you remember rightly, we had a material, right? Remember the material for the teleporter, the first one, that basically did a, you know, an ever increasing circle, right? Well, we could maybe do that for our portal. Let's try it. Let's see. Let's try it and see if we can do it, right? And this is the fun part of it, that you just try things and see if they work. Right? And we're going to have to do a little bit of a change here, right? Because this mesh, it might not end up even being a mesh, right? But we're going to have to put the Z position at 130, right? And we're going to save that. Then we're going to go back to our pawn, keep saying prawn crocker, no, whatever, right? And this is actually going to be, I hate when I do that as well, that's the side button getting hit on the mouse and it jumps to something else. No worries, mate, I'll catch you tomorrow. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our portal and we're going to put a plane right? That's if I can find the plane. There it goes, right? And it's going to be at minus 20, right? Okay, so you're just going to be like that, aren't you, Mr. Plane? Right, so we'll do that. And then this is going to be minus 20. And then we have the very material for you. Oh yes, sirree, we do. Now, whether I can find that material or not is a different question, but it should be in teleporters. Right. Except it's not that one. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Yeah, this is the part we want, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new material, right? And we're going to go to our portal, and then we're going to browse, and then we're going to create a material, and we're going to call it mat portal ping. Okay. Good night, Spock. We're going to save that. We're going to go in here. We're going to paste that. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And this, if I'm right, I can't actually remember, it's going to be translucent. And this is going to be the opacity. Right? We're going to delete that. We're going to delete that. This is going to go in here, even though I don't even think it needs to. We'll save that. We'll go to here, then we'll apply our material. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to make it 10, 10. Okay, and then we're going to change this color to 1, 1, and 1. Then this is going to go into the emissive color. Right? And if we press play, I don't think that's big enough. But you can see that it works perfectly. Right, so we're going to go to a portal and we're going to triple the size, let's say. And we're going to save that. And then we're going to change the speed of this thing. Right, to, let's say, -2, and we'll see what effect that has. What the effect that has is that it's too much, basically. And probably this needs to come down a bit as well. And we save that. Right, now this looks a bit scrubby around the edge, but basically because it's going to be shrinked right down, it's going to look fine. Right, and we're going to change the speed of this to -1.25, let's say, and we'll see how it looks like that. And I think that actually might work quite nicely. So we'll press play, we'll grab our thing, and of course if we actually we should be going this way. If we go round this way, and I believe if we go this way, okay, so I don't know where this is. I just want it to appear on the map. So at this point, I'm not even close to it, right? Right, so we're just going to walk through. Wait a minute. I'm thinking it's actually around this corner and straight on. Or maybe not. Right, well, it's not there. This is always the case. I'm absolutely terrible at playing my own games. And by this time, I could be completely in the wrong place. Because I have zero spatial awareness. Okay. I think that's went and gone and spawned even more. To be quite honest, I just want to see one of them. Please let me see one of them. Ah, here's one. Right. And there it is. I like that. Okay, on that, we're going to go and grab a cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes. If you're enjoying the stream, hit like, subscribe, check out the description for links to my Discord, which you're welcome to join, and we support the channel through Patreon and my previous game on Steam. I shall be right back. Don't go anywhere, guys. Okay, guys, we are back. I don't know for how long because I have to sell a set of speakers, and apparently somebody's coming to see them right now. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but I'm going to have to call it for the night, and I shall be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. I'm going to reverse this, by the way, so it goes from out to in, and that'll work better. But I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you tomorrow. My apologies again. Bye bye for now.